The Federal Reserve already has some strong connections to Ripple, and they just dropped a huge confirmation about what's coming next. There's a lot to unpack here, but let's start with stablecoins because everything revolves around them. If you haven't been keeping up, stablecoins have pretty much taken the place of CBDCs. Now, let me break it down simply. CBDCs and stablecoins are basically the same thing, just issued by different entities. CBDCs come directly from central banks, while stablecoins are usually issued by private companies. But here's the kicker, they're both programmable and share the same core features. So let's dive into what this all means. Stablecoins are truly the backbone of everything happening with tokenization, DeFi, and even crypto as a whole. Speaking of that, I came across a post from Wrath of Kahneman that really caught my attention and gave me a new perspective on things. The comments were super insightful too. People were saying it's a great way to think about what's going on. Here's the gist. At first, putting USDC on the XRP ledger might seem counterproductive, especially with RLUSD and its BNY backing. But when you look closer, it actually highlights Ripple's goal of positioning the XRP ledger as a foundation for regulated digital money. It's been a pretty big month for developments like this. We've been talking about this on the channel for quite a while now, over a year or two at least. But Ripple's goal here isn't about taking over the stablecoin market or trying to compete with companies like Circle or Tether. That's not the focus. It actually reminds me of something Brad Garlinghouse said back in the summer of 2024. He mentioned that the government might go after Tether, which stirred up quite a reaction. Tether's CEO even jumped on X to respond, pointing out that Ripple's CEO was caught up in his own legal challenges while making those claims. So here's the deal, Tether's CEO kind of misunderstood things and thought Ripple was trying to compete with them. But that's not the case. Ripple's focus has always been on one big goal, the Internet of Value. Stablecoins are quickly becoming a key part of this vision. Right now, we've got tokenized fiat currencies on-chain in a big way, making up over 1.1% of the global M2 supply. Ripple's plan with the XRP ledger and XRP has always been to make XRP the bridge currency for all CBDCs. And guess what? That could include stablecoins too. And that's exactly what we're starting to see. The recent launch of USDC on the XRP ledger is a big step in that direction. Plus, there are now 6 or 7 other stablecoins on the XRP ledger, which just reinforces the momentum. Wow, the BNY Mellon news is pretty major, right? They've been chosen as the primary reserve custodian for Ripple's enterprise-grade SIP coin, RLUSD. This partnership is all about driving digital asset adoption on a huge institutional scale and building a bridge between traditional finance and the crypto world. It's wild to see a big name like BNY Mellon stepping into this space. It really shows how much crypto and traditional finance are starting to overlap. But let's not forget the big takeaway here. This announcement is likely to open the door for a wave of institutional players getting involved with RLUSD. Anderson made a great point by referencing BNY's announcement. It reminds me of something Bob Way once said, paraphrased of course, nobody wants to be first, but everyone wants to be second. And honestly, I think he nailed it. The domino effect is definitely on its way. I couldn't agree more. BNY has just opened up a huge can of worms, and it's going to be massive for XRP, the XRPL, and RLUSD. We're about to see some major players jumping on board with RLUSD, which will only make it stronger. To everyone pointing out that RLUSD is mainly on Ethereum, I actually made a post about this earlier today. People keep saying RLUSD isn't relevant for XRP because most of the supply is on Ethereum. But here's the thing, Ethereum is currently the go-to network for stablecoins and DeFi. That's just the reality right now. Of course, this won't always be the case. Ethereum's inefficiencies will become more obvious as demand continues to grow. We're already seeing signs of this. Look at how JP Morgan moved from Ethereum to Base with JPMD. Onyx started out using private Ethereum tech, but now they're switching to public chains. And here's the kicker, it's not Ethereum. Why? Because tokenization, institutional DeFi, and stablecoin use cases keep growing. Networks with scalability issues just can't keep up with the demand. That's where the XRP ledger comes in, supporting USDC, RLUSD, and other stablecoins. Now, how does the Fed fit into all of this? Well, here's the big news. ISO 20022 for the Fedwire Fund Service goes live in just 2 days. Technically, it's less than 24 hours away. This is a huge deal. Why? Because ISO 200 22 unlocks the door to new technologies like DLT, stablecoins, and blockchain. It's a total game changer. And if that wasn't exciting enough, the Fed's also giving us a glimpse into their plans at the same time. So here's the scoop. Federal Reserve Governor Waller just shared his thoughts. And guess what? He's all about creating a level playing field. He also pointed out that nothing is evolving faster or shaking things up more than the payments industry right now. According to him, stablecoins could really heat things up by fostering competition and pushing banks to step up their game. Oh, and remember, this is the same Waller who told us way back in 2024 that stablecoins actually strengthen the dollar. He even said they were open to embracing stablecoins long before Jerome Powell gave them the green light. Listen to this.
I'm glad you went right there to payments. It's an area where you've done decades of research. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the priorities are for the Fed in terms of this payment space. And then say, every meeting I go to, the word of the day is stablecoins. Can you say a little bit about how you're seeing stablecoins, what you see as the use cases, and what the risks are that we should be thinking about?
Yeah. So the Federal Reserve, since its founding, one of the things that the Fed was charged with by Congress in 1913 was to provide kind of a safe, efficient payment system at the time. I mean, it was at a time when you wrote a check in San Francisco and somebody on a horse rode it across the West and took it to another horse and eventually got to the East Coast. I mean, that's the kind of, seriously, that was what Congress realized. We have to have a national bank or central bank to make the nation's payment system more efficient and faster. And that has been part of our job for over a century. And that's why I take this job extremely seriously in terms of being the payment oversight governor. So we have our typical big payment currency, obviously one of the big payment instruments that we oversee. We have ACH, Fed ACH, which is the standard batch processing way we do payments, payroll, and things like that. We have FedWire, which is typically the large transactions up to $1 billion that have to be made. And then we recently have FedNow, which is our real-time payment system that we launched about a little over a year ago. And we're trying to develop that now to have it more, again, a faster, cheaper payment system for the US taxpayer. So that's kind of what we do. That's what I oversee. It's been a long part of our history. But there's nothing that is evolving faster and being more disruptive than the payments industry. For years, this was like the dullest thing you could ever want to be part of, right? Somebody with a green visor and a pad and paper and doing some debit and entries. No, this is the coolest tech job on the planet right now. So there's so much innovation happening, both in terms of how payments are getting done, who's doing the payments, what are the objects that people are using to make payments. That's why the job I have now is super fascinating. I go around, talk to payments conferences, payments people, find out where things are going. And that brings us, I guess, to stablecoins, which is probably going to pass here soon. Now, stablecoins they're just a new method for making a payment. I'm going to use a very simple analogy that won't scare people because stablecoins came out of the crypto world, and then you say that people freak out. But it used to be, apparently not anymore, but it used to be you go to a casino, they won't take dollar bills on any of the tables or anything like that. You go get chips, and you get a poker chip that matched $1, and then the platform, the rails of the casino were all the tables. And you move those chips around the tables, and then at the end of the night, you collected them, and you went back, and you cashed it out. So it's just a different payment instrument for moving on a different set of rails than we typically do in our normal daily life. But that's about as simple as I can explain it. So stablecoins are just a new dollar token, just like a poker chip, that is now going to trade over a different set of digital rails, typically the crypto rails, Ethereum, Solana, these various platforms. What is that going to do? It's going to open up different ways of making payments. These are fast, 24 by 7 by 365 payment setups. They're just a dollar representation. They don't pay interest. You have to have them fully backed. There's no banking credit backing this up. It's just pure liquid assets, treasuries, or reserves in the Fed. And the whole idea for me is that this is just going to introduce competition in payments. It's going to make cross-border payments so much easier. It's going to make them faster, and it's going to make them cheaper. And that's the goal for me as a free market capitalist economist, is I want competition in payments to drive down the cost for households and consumers and businesses. That's it. Banks have to compete. Sorry, that's your job. So it's not my job to protect profits of individual firms. So that's it. But I want a level playing field. If you're going to introduce a stablecoin, let the banks in on it too. Then go compete. See what happens. But I just think historically, because stablecoins came out of the crypto world, because they realized the standard problem. I got to pay for something that somebody wants. I can hand them some Dogecoin, but nobody wants that. Maybe. But if I say, oh, this is a dollar-backed stablecoin, and when you're done, you can go cash it out, people are like, yeah, I'll take that. So even in the crypto world, this is where stablecoins came. They realized the need for a payment instrument that's safe, stable, and backed by a US dollar. They're not trading Bitcoin to pay for things. No one's buying pizzas with Bitcoin, but they do with stablecoins. So that's what it is this is an innovation in a world people have been afraid of for the last 4 years, but it's just a piece of technology to conduct a payment. That's it.
So he just said the quiet part out loud, didn't he? Stablecoins. That's the focus here. And did you catch how he talked about a level playing field? Sound familiar? Ripple has been using that exact phrase for years, since 2016, 2017, maybe even earlier. It's been one of their key talking points, and now we're hearing it from the Fed and other major central banks. Oh, and he also brought up the FedWire service, which is switching to ISO 20022. That's a big deal because it opens the door for integrating DLT, distributed ledger technology, stablecoins, and more. And here's another thing to keep in mind. Ripple's head of public policy and government, Lauren Boliv, was in a private meeting with Nellie Liang, the Undersecretary for Domestic Finance, back in 2024. The connections are all there, and it's fascinating to see how these key players are aligning. The big players in this space include Paxos, Chainlink, Stellar, Ripple, and Circle. When it comes to Ripple, they're already deeply involved in the financial system, and things are about to get even more interesting. Recently, Ripple announced that they're applying for a bank charter to become Ripple National Trust Bank. Pretty exciting, right? This application could open major doors, allowing the Fed to hold RLUSD reserves directly. That means RLUSD could be integrated into services like FedWire and FedNow, making it a key part of the US financial system. Oh, and there's more. Youngle Inc. just dropped a big update too. I really love the idea and thought process behind this. Ripple is taking some big steps, and it's super exciting to see where this could go. Imagine XRP being bridged directly to the Federal Reserve. Sounds pretty revolutionary, right? Ripple's plan to get a US banking license isn't just about ticking regulatory boxes. It's about changing the game entirely. Here's how it works. Ripple will issue RLUSD, a stablecoin on the XRP ledger, fully backed by dollars held at the Fed. That's right, the XRP ledger would essentially become an extension of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. But the coolest part, RLUSD isn't just another token. It's like a digital IOU for real cash held by the Fed, instantly redeemable and settled on a decentralized blockchain. No other blockchain has anything like this yet. It's not USDC, it might get a license, it runs on the XRP ledger, and it's not USDT or PayPal. Ripple is the one building this bridge. Here's the thing, Ripple isn't fighting the system, they're becoming part of it. If approved, Ripple could control the rails, the stablecoin, and the settlement layer. This isn't just huge for XRP, it's a glimpse into how crypto could evolve within global finance. And honestly, it's happening. Big names, even Scott Bessent, have been saying it. Stablecoins are set to play an even bigger role in the US financial system. He pointed out that the dollar has weathered plenty of challenges over the years, from Nixon's decision to leave the gold standard to where we are now. And guess what? Stablecoins might just become its next big anchor on the global stage. That's a huge statement. Even the Fed is now backing stablecoins, recognizing just how important they're becoming in the global financial system. I mean, 1.1% of the global M2 supply is tied to stablecoins. That's not something you can ignore. And here's where Ripple comes in. They've been leading the charge, positioning XRP as the bridge currency connecting all these stablecoins. I've talked about this a bunch on the channel. I think I posted about this a while back. Oh yeah, here it is. Remember this image? This was always the plan, XRP. Let's break it down. We've got BBRL, the Brazilian real stablecoin, already in place. There's also a Euro stablecoin, plus multiple USD stablecoins in the mix. Now, considering XRP's connections with Japan and Ripple, it's pretty clear a Japanese yen stablecoin on the XRP ledger is just a matter of time. And let's not forget the Digital Pound Foundation. They've already mentioned the digital pound. So when you think about it, that's 5 out of the 8 stablecoins on this list already accounted for. Just think about what's coming in the next few months. Stablecoin adoption and discussions are really heating up. Almost every country out there is exploring stablecoins, and the fact that we already have so many fiat currency stablecoins on the XRP ledger today just goes to show that this vision is alive and thriving. XRP is perfectly positioned as a decentralized bridge currency. It's exactly what's needed for this kind of ecosystem. Honestly, I couldn't be more excited about everything happening with stablecoins and crypto right now. It's like all the ideas we've been talking about for years are finally coming to life. And let's not forget XRP, Ripple, RLUSD, and the XRPL. They're all key pieces of the bigger picture. Even the Fed is reinforcing the importance of stablecoins, and that alone should be enough to signal what's coming next. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more free content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.